and it's helpful to know how to best prepare them for the classroom experience. Joining me right now to inform us about some signs to look for when it comes to ADHD is Dr. Brett from Pine Rest Christian Services. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doctor.
It's good to be here, Miranda.
Well, let's talk a little bit about at what age do you think we can really start to identify ADHD and ADD in our children?
It's very hard to diagnose it younger than the age of 5. There are always some exceptions, but it's really around the age of 5, around the time school starts, that it becomes more noticeable, pronounced enough that we can start to diagnose it.
How does a parent know that maybe this is something they should even be looking for?
It's a great question. A lot of times you start to get feedback from outside sources because as a parent, you're growing up with this child.
Right, this
you're
seems
looking
normal.
for the best
Yes.
in this child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a lot of times teachers and other adults that might be involved in this child's life that start to give you some clues that maybe the energy level of your child is a little bit more than other children, or just the inattentiveness. It's interesting with the energy level, it's very easy to see that.
Right.
So it's easy to start to pick up on that, kids that have too much energy. It's really more those kids that have a hard time with inattention, with paying attention, that it's harder to find that sometimes, and that's what we start to see more as school starts.
Now, I know I should know this, but I don't. What's the difference between ADHD and ADD?
Really, there is no difference. It's
good. Okay, I thought I was giving you that.
Exactly. No, it's really the same thing, but there are two different subtypes. There are actually a couple different subtypes. So some kids have more of the inattention. Then we diagnose ADHD predominantly inattentive. Some kids are more just hyperactive. So they're predominantly hyperactive. A fair majority of the kids are combined, both types.
Do you see it more in boys or girls, or is it kind of universal across the board, 50-50?
It's really more in boys a little bit. So we do see it more with boys.
Now, I know that when we say things to parents like, your child may have ADD or ADHD, it can be frightening because we're afraid of the medications. It's kind of a misunderstood diagnosis. What are you recommending for parents?
It really is. I think it's hard for parents because sometimes there's a tendency to, as a parent, to say, what am I doing wrong? And that brings up some of that fear. But it's really not about good parenting or bad parenting. It's about the child, and it's about what the child is struggling with. So we best understand ADHD as a weakness in brain development. Just as all of us are taller or shorter, we all have brains that develop a little bit differently as well. So it's really about a weakness in an area of the brain that really helps us to focus our attention. So I think it's important for parents to understand that it's something your child's going to struggle with just as if they have diabetes.
So let's get them the help they need.
Exactly.
So if a parent needs help, talk with your school, call Pine Rest. There are resources in our community, aren't there?
There are lots of resources, and certainly Pine Rest, we do testing as well as therapy. So you bet.
Thank you so much for your help in helping our kids succeed. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.